Hey everyone, welcome to Youth Bombs. I'm Craig.
I'm David.
I'm Carson.
And we're the voice of young conservatives in Alachua County. We're looking at a clip from President Obama discussing the problem that the Democrats are having with male voters. Let's take a look.
Communities is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly. You found out was just making stuff up. You'd at least give him a talking to.
So how did you guys feel about that? It's clear that he's frustrated, that he's concerned that the Democrats are not going to get enough male support this election. My perspective, it seems like they spend 3.5 years bashing us as men, and then they spend 6 months saying, oh, men are kind of cool. Like, look at us. We're drinking beer on Colbert, and we're hunting, and, I think they're disingenuous. But how do you guys feel?
I just think overall the messaging it comes off as like really cringe. Like they're using these very stereotypical pictures and caricatures of men to try to appeal to them. Especially, and with the Obama clip, it's like you're scolding people for not voting for you when you're supposed to earn people's votes, right? But instead, you're scolding this group whose votes you've taken for granted, which are young black men, and you're saying you don't vote for us. That's a problem. You should be voting for us, without giving them any real vision as for why.
Yeah, exactly. And Kamala's campaign has really centered around reproductive rights, which she calls reproductive rights, the right to have an abortion. And there really hasn't been much attention to men because as we've seen on polling, like especially from the Wall Street Journal, like some of the things that concern men the most are economic issues, are immigration issues, is less taxes. That's what men really want. And the thing that concerns women the most is abortion. And Kamala has just been appealing to women this entire time. And I think what's really happening is that the polls are showing that Trump and Kamala are head to head. And the Kamala campaign is getting worried because when Trump was running in 2016 against Hillary Clinton, he wasn't even head to head. Hillary Clinton was leading by a lot. The thing about Trump is that he gets low propensity and medium propensity voters out in order to vote. This is why in 2022, the Republicans didn't do as well as they thought they were going to do. Trump wasn't on the ballot. Trump gets people who don't usually vote. He gets them out to vote, and he gets people excited to vote for him. And that's the thing that Trump has that is unique to him. So when you see polls that have Trump head-to-head, they're really undermining Trump. Trump is doing better than what the polls say that they're doing. So Kamala's headquarters, Kamala's HQ is in full panic mode. Now they're trying to appeal to men. They're trying to appeal to every single group which they have shunned or have not been spending that much time on.
Right. Speaking of White Dudes for Harris, Carson, have you seen much of that group and what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I had the misfortune of seeing one of their ads, and it's just, I mean, they put on like a special voice, like a, almost like trying to be masculine. I can't even do it. It's just like all of their material is all based on stereotypes and like, this is how men talk. We know how men talk. It's clear this was made by like a bunch of rich people in a room trying to figure out how to appeal to like the specific type of voter that they're falling with. And I think it's just like speaking to a broader issue that the Democrats, and I'll even say that the Republicans have, is like Democrats are usually using very like feminized language. And I think it's very hard for them to communicate their message well with men. And I think that it's because the Democrats are very, like, there's a lot of feminine language that they use around it that just doesn't, it's very disconnected from how men communicate. And if they wanted to actually communicate to men, they would try to use more male-focused language and male-focused tones and that kind of thing. But it feels like they're having a really hard time doing that in every one of these ads. It's just cringe, cringe, cringe.
Mm-hmm. They don't understand what's going on with this voter segment, so they can't understand how to relate to them. David, would you agree?
I mean, yeah. Imagine if there was a white dudes for Trump, Imagine all the panic that would be going on there. They'd be talking about the KKK meetings now. And here you had the Democrats doing exactly the same because they've seen that this is where they're losing ground in. And apparently, with what the Democrats don't want to believe is that men actually matter. Men's votes do matter. They like to think that men shouldn't be able to speak on abortion, but men are voting. And so men should be able to speak on abortion. And you see Kamala Harris in her campaign putting way too much emphasis on celebrity endorsements. Like Kamala in the debate, Tim Walz in the vice presidential debate, one of the last things he said was that Taylor Swift endorsed him. So thank you, Taylor Swift. Well, Taylor Swift's endorsement isn't enough. And I think the American people would agree that celebrity endorsements aren't nearly as impactful as the Democratic Party thinks that they are. People don't see millionaires riding in their fancy cars endorsing candidates as something valuable. They're focused on putting food on the table. They're focused on paying their rent. They're focused on paying their groceries. And that's something that Trump's base really has going for them. And then you also see, let's just look at the response to the hurricane. Like, how disconnected is Kamala for going on a Call Her Daddy, a soft sex podcast, while the hurricane is going on? You see Trump and Elon out there giving Starlink to victims of the hurricane. You see Trump literally allowing linemen to go ahead and be at Mar-a-Lago for free. And he's doing way more than Kamala Harris has ever been doing, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just astounding, the difference. And you also see, for example, Dr. Phil, who interviewed President Trump at one point. He was working with helicopters to get supplies in. Meanwhile, Biden, Harris, they don't care. They're slow walking the hurricane response. They're ignoring the needs of the people. Harris did a photo op with a C-17 airplane. So clearly, it's a lack of attention to the voter needs. They just care about themselves. And I think that's also showing in their super PAC efforts as well, which they're not technically connected to, but do work for Harris in a way, in that they're promoting her. So the group has been criticized, Future Forward, her top super PAC, for doing too broad advertising, not really honing in on specific segments enough. So you have the one problem where Harris might be trying to appeal to this white dude segment, while the other super PAC doesn't know what it's doing and is just trying to speak to everyone. Carson, have you seen any ads from the super PACs or affiliated groups for Harris?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of them, and just the one thing is, like, I feel like the Democrats have really been pushing the same message for 20 years, which is whenever we get into power, we're going to tax the rich, they're going to pay their fair share, and then all this money is going to appear, and that's how we're going to fund more government spending. And I feel like it's really played out and old, and it's like you keep saying we're going to tax the rich, and it's like you've been in power for 4 years. If you were really, and by the way, all of this is like terrible policy, but we're going to sit here and say, oh, we're going to tax the rich and that's going to fund everything. Well, then why was so much money added to the deficit in Joe Biden's first few years of the presidency? I thought that taxing the rich would fix that. But, that's just one of the ads. They all seem to use this played out messaging that I feel does not resonate with voters anymore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it just really shows, like, look, you have to be in 2024. You can't just use these tired old talking points that don't work anymore because they're irrelevant. David, what do you think?
I mean, you see Kamala also shifting her campaign, trying to be more Trump than Trump, as Trump would say, because she's all of a sudden she's saying that she's tough on border when the Democratic Party, that's not what the Democratic Party believes in. For the past 5 years, for the past 5-10 years, they've been telling us that we need to feel for the illegal immigrants and that we need to allow them to come through our border without any regulation. And then all of a sudden, Kamala wants to say that she's tough on border and that she's going to cut taxes, which is something that she's definitely not going to do. It's something that Biden and her have not been focused on at all.
Yeah, I think the theme of her campaign is being disingenuous, just like the border bill, for instance. She says, oh, Donald Trump scuttled a great border bill because he wants to be president. No, that was a terrible border bill. They don't care about looking at the facts and seeing, oh, this is why conservatives oppose it, because it would allow so many illegal immigrants in per day. It wouldn't address the problem. You would have more people coming in than before. It wouldn't secure the border. And they don't care about that. And I think that's another reason why they're failing to appeal to men, because immigration is a strong issue for men. And so if they're failing to do that, people can see right through the lie. Any closing thoughts, Carson?
I just think that all of the attempts to appeal at different groups and, just this gender gap in general, I mean, Democrats clearly do not know how to address this issue. It's a very hard point for them to communicate on, especially because their general way of communication is just not male focused, and it never has been. And they're going to need a serious shift in the way they talk about issues to appeal to both men and women if they actually want to try to scout male voters. Otherwise, they're going to keep having a tough time because those advertisements have been terrible.
Right. It's not just about the focus groups. It's about, hey, what do people really believe? And look, the polls are already open in a lot of states. Pennsylvania, Virginia, other places. People are already voting. A lot of people have already voted, and we're under 25 days to go. So they're trying to cram in everything they can for an exam, or in this case, the election. So really, they're running out of time, and I don't think that the electorate is liquid enough to necessarily split off from Trump or significantly go to Harris from the undecided camp. It smells like desperation because that's what it is. That being said, thanks everyone so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email us at youthbombs@alatrorepublicans.com. Thanks so much, everyone.